Not too long ago, Game Ventures announced a $350 bounty for anyone who could set a new world record for Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Seeing how I have nearly every world record in the game, I stepped up to this challenge to try and claim this bounty for myself. This bounty, however, would require a nearly 10-minute improvement over the current world record in the most brutal category to complete a run in, reverse boss order. But in reverse boss order, you have to beat each of the bosses in the reverse order in which they appear in the game's tactics menu. Starting with the second to last boss, Shaft, you work your way backwards all the way to Slogger and Gaibon, then defeat Dracula and get the endgame credits. So I started grinding to beat the goal time and claim that reward. And here's how that went. Before I start the run, I name my save file this code. This is to start the game in luck mode. Luck mode lowers all of Alucard's starting stats except for luck, which starts at 99. The lowered HP stat is critical for this run in particular, and is the reason why I must play in luck mode. After starting the prologue sequence, I grab 41 hearts before starting the cutscene with Dracula.
Die, monster!
What? And end the fight with 0 hearts. This gives me both a neutron bomb and a heart refresh when I start playing as Alucard. Soon after gaining control of Alucard, I backdash my way to this wolf and perform the first big toss of the run. A big toss is a mechanic in the game that occurs when Alucard takes more than half of his total HP in a single hit. Since I'm playing in luck mode, my starting health is at 25, meaning any attack that does 13 or more damage will send me flying across the room until I hit a wall or a ceiling. I big toss once to get through this room quickly, and again to skip past the cutscene with the Grim Reaper. Normally, Death would take away all of my powerful starting gear, but by big tossing past him, he never gets the chance to steal my gear, and I can keep it for the rest of the run. From here, I'm going to be setting up the first boss skip of the run. Normally, I'd have to platform my way through the Alchemy Lab and fight the first boss encounter of the game, Slogger and Gaibon, but instead I will be performing a glitch called a reverse shift line. Reverse shift lines are kind of a complicated glitch. They essentially allow me to skip forward an entire screen if I'm able to freeze the screen in the correct position. Here, I use the Summon Spirit spell to kill this Axe Knight to freeze the screen with a level up animation. And before the screen freezes, I need to find the pixel perfect positioning to make sure the reverse shift line works. In this run, I was able to get the trick first try and teleport past this room that would normally block my progress. Then, I could ride this elevator all the way up to the top of the Alchemy Lab, skipping the first boss encounter with Slogger and Gaibon. From here, my next goal is to get to the long library with a sellable gem, so I can perform the shop glitch and get nearly infinite money. But that area is normally guarded behind the second boss of the game, the Doppelganger, and I will need to find a way to skip him too. First, I big toss off of this blue Axe Knight and grab this garnet. Then, I backtrack to this room with the skeleton. Here, I have just enough experience to level up after killing the skeleton, but this time I will be using the level up to do a glitch called a shift line, which is slightly different from a reverse shift line. Shift lines require that 2 freezes happen back to back to open up a hole at the edge of the screen that Alucard can fall into and go out of bounds. So here, I move to a pixel perfect position, I kill the skeleton with a dagger, and start the backdash 1 frame before the level up animation starts. I then use a heart refresh to freeze the screen again, which opens up the shift line for me so I can fall into it. Falling into the shift line lets me get into this area below that is normally gated behind a switch that I can't access yet. I do this and grab the library card, which allows me to warp directly to the long library, completing the Doppelganger boss fight skip. And now that we're in the library, this is where I'm going to be performing the shop glitch. In order to do that, however, I first need the fairy relic to activate the glitch. That relic is found high up on this ledge, but I don't currently have the correct relics to get up there. So instead, I get this enemy to charge up its sword with lightning, causing it to do more damage, and then I set up for yet another big toss, allowing me to land right on this ledge and grab the fairy. I then stand outside of the shopkeeper's room and summon the fairy. She starts to talk to me, and I immediately walk into the room and start the cutscene with the librarian. For some reason, the fairy dialogue overlapping with this cutscene lets me open this menu, even though I'm not normally supposed to be able to do that. Here, I can equip that garnet I got earlier, then sell it at the same time. And there, the game tries to take away the garnet out of my inventory, but it's no longer in my inventory because I'm wearing it. This causes the game to subtract 1 garnet from my 0 garnets in a glitch that is called an underflow. So instead of changing the number of garnets to -1, it instead wraps all the way around to the highest number of garnets the game can have stored in memory, which is 255. I can now sell as many garnets as I want to buy all the items I could ever need to finish this run. Here I buy the Jewel of Open, Mana Prisms, Buffalo Stars, and most importantly, the Duplicator. This item gives me infinite usage of any singular use item, so things like potions and throwable items I could use an infinite amount of times. After robbing the shopkeeper for all he's worth, I then leave the library and grab the Soul of Wolf. After Alucard finally embraces his inner furry, this lets him transform into a wolf. In normal gameplay, this transformation isn't really useful on its own, but I'm going to be exploiting it to sequence break in just a little bit. I do a little bit of backtracking to enter this clock room. I don't have the Leapstone relic yet, which would normally allow me to double jump up onto this ledge. Instead, I will need to transform into my persona, and then untransform, which gives me access to a dive kick. I can dive kick off of this candle up onto this ledge, which lets me access this area way earlier than intended without using the Leapstone. Now, the whole reason I came here is to go to the Colosseum, and that's because it has the Form of Mist relic inside of it. But of course, that's blocked by another boss fight. So we're going to have to find another way to skip these bosses. Here I'm going to be combining a big toss and a screen freeze together in order to perform the shift line. Essentially, the faster you're moving before the screen freezes, the easier it is to open up a shift line. So I find a specific position and time my neutron bomb to kill the skeleton after it sends me flying. This opens up the shift line, I fall down, and then I grab the Mist relic and skip the Minotaur and Werewolf boss fight. I believe that was a cheat. Yeah, the whole point of this video game is to just cheat as much as possible. But before I leave the Colosseum, I want to make my way to this room so I can grab the shield rod, a very powerful weapon that will let me defeat bosses when the time comes for that. But for now, I use another library card to warp to the library so I can finally get the Soul of Bat. The Soul of Bat, however, is locked behind yet another boss fight. But here is where I saved the most time over my previous record. In that run, I used to get the 2 extra wolf relics, the Power of Wolf and the Skill of Wolf, in order to perform a charge jump floor clip to skip past the Lesser Demon and proceed to the Soul of Bat relic. But this massive discovery right here changed all of that. That's right. I just kill him. As it turns out, there was a loophole in the category definition. It states that you must defeat the bosses in the reverse order in which they appear in the tactics menu. But if we check the tactics menu, it turns out the Lesser Demon doesn't show up on the list, and therefore can be defeated at any time. This saved me tons of time backtracking to set up an unnecessary glitch, and then backtracking again just to defeat the Lesser Demon later. What are you doing? Lesser Demon said, I'm not a boss, huh? Huh? You think I'm not a boss? You! I'm gonna waste your time! Also, that spell you saw me do before killing the Lesser Demon, that's why we got the Shield Rod. The Shield Rod is a weapon that lets you cast a spell with different effects based on what shield you currently have equipped, and the Alucard shield spell is the strongest one in the entire game, allowing me to do 1500 damage per second while I have the shield touching an enemy. Oh, and it also makes me fully invincible while it's doing damage. But with all that out of the way, I can finally get past this mist gate and collect the best relic in the game, the Soul of Bat. After grabbing Persona number 2, I use yet another library card and start to escape the library. Here, I immediately perform an advanced technique called a Bat Dash. This is when you backdash and then immediately transform into the bat. The bat transformation preserves horizontal speed through its animation. This lets me move quickly while transforming, saving a small amount of time over just transforming while staying still. And once I gain access to the Leapstone relic and the Gravity Boots relic, I'll also be performing similar movement preservation tech to transform while moving quickly. Now that I'm in the bat transformation, I can perform the next advanced technique called Wing Smashing. A Wing Smash is a spell that I have to spend 8 magic points on to cast, and the spell is performed by holding the jump button, performing a 3/4 circle motion on the control stick, and then releasing the jump button. This starts the Wing Smash and sends Alucard flying very quickly as the bat, for a short period of time before being forced back into human form. How do you move so long with the bat? That's what your mom asked me last night. I can't. I'm sorry. However, I can extend this by chaining the Wing Smash input over and over again, about once every second. This does cost 8 MP every time I do the input, so I quickly will run out of magic. But that's why I got the duplicator and the mana prisms, so I can constantly refill my magic and perform this fast movement option without needing to wait for my magic to refill over time. Also, anytime I need to change directions while in bat form, I can cancel the Wing Smash into a Mist transformation, and then quickly transform back into bat. This is called a Mist Bat, and is a core movement option that you'll be seeing me do all throughout the run. My next goal is to enter the Castle Keep, but of course, that's guarded by yet another boss. This is Kurasuman, so I naturally will be skipping this boss encounter using a very silly clip. So for some reason, if Alucard is in the bat form right next to a wall and gets sent into the Big Toss animation, you just clip through the wall? and we can move along our merry way. Anyways, from here, I could enter the second castle, but instead, there's a few more things I can do in the first castle that'll help speed up the rest of the run. First, I grab the Leap Stone relic, which lets me perform double jumps and dive kicks. I use this often before transforming into the bat, just like the bat dash, but this bat kick has a higher base speed, and so it's preferred most of the time from here on out. Then, I make my way back to the central clock room in the marble gallery and fly up this shaft and grab the Gravity Boots relic. This lets me perform a big vertical jump for the cost of 5 MP, and this will save a lot of time anytime I need to traverse a vertical section. Then, I set up for yet another glitch called a wolf clip. Using the map, I can confirm some visual cues to perform a frame-perfect clip into these set of stairs, and we can continue to move out of bounds in the bat transformation. I do this and then enter this room from out of bounds, which gives me early access to the Holy Glasses item. This item is required to save Richter later, as he does appear on the boss list. I then leave and then perform the same exact floor clip again, but at this time I fly to the right and hit this load zone for the cavern's entrance from out of bounds. This loads me into the caverns, skipping about a 40-second detour to get there the intended way. Then I move quickly through the caverns and enter the abandoned mine, where I will again be skipping yet another boss. This is the only boss arena in the game that has doors that close in on you from the ceiling. Those doors, however, don't lock Alucard in immediately. I use this small delay to activate the trigger to cause the doors to close. Then I backdash into the position that forces the door on top of me. This pushes me into the ground, and then I can slowly make my way over and then leave the room without ever fighting Cerberus. I then make my way to the teleporter of the area so I can warp back here later, and then I make my way to Castle Keep so I can enter the second castle. So I can't save Richter yet to enter the second castle since he is on the boss order list, so therefore I need to skip past Richter. Here I use a classic method of skipping Richter that involves doing a precise jump while in the wolf form to pass into the room without hitting the trigger that checks to see if you've already saved Richter. Instead, this trick actually loads the default state of the room, which is, for some reason, the cutscene where Richter is just been saved. This doesn't actually save Richter, so he will still be waiting for us later, but it does allow me to move on for now. Now in the second castle, we have yet another boss we need to skip. Medusa is skipped in a similar fashion to Kurasamon, but in order to get this clip to work, I first need to lure Medusa into the corner of the room, and then use her dummy thick ass to damage me while in the bat form to clip me into the floor so I can fly out. I then make a small detour to pick up yet another heart refresh and make my way into the inverted clock room, where I need to perform one more glitch before finally fighting the first boss. That glitch is called Relic Skip. Here I use the heart refresh I just got for another reverse shift line, so it skips me past this save room into the ceiling, and then I can wing smash my way past into yet another save room that is normally guarded by the clock room mechanism that only opens after collecting the 5 Vlad relics that all drop from 5 different bosses in the second castle. And then finally, I have access to the very first boss fight of this run, Shaft. This is going to be an intense fight that I need to... Oh, it's over. Yeah, I guess the shield rod really is strong, huh? Kind of forgot about that. Anyways, now with Shaft dead, and my first boss defeated, 26 minutes into the run, geez, I now need to warp out of the Dracula fight using a library card, and then return to the second castle, making sure to perform Richter Skip again to get to the next boss on the list, Galamoth. But of course, this is RBO, and nothing is ever that simple, because yet again, there's another boss blocking the way. This time, Death guards the path to the inverted catacombs, where Galamoth resides. So we need to skip Death. Again. Another Death Skip? Death Skip 2? Whatever it's called, we need to get past him. In step 1 of Death Skip 2 Electric Boogaloo, we have to enter the fight and then skip the associated cutscene. After the cutscene, there's no way out of the boss arena without killing Death, so we warp out again with another library card. Ah, we meet again. God damn it, he left again. Poor Death just wants to talk to me and I just keep leaving. I perform Richter Skip for a third time and make our way back to the Death Boss Arena. This boss arena uses the same closing door mechanism as the Cerberus Arena, which means I can do another similar skip, letting the doors close on top of me and push me into the floor so I can fly out, successfully skipping Death yet again. Alucard, get that ass back here. Where are you going? You can't be out of bounds. That's fucking cheating. I then move through the inverted catacombs to the second boss of the run, Galamoth. I once again use the Alucard shield to defeat him quickly. Any second now, and there we go. Damn, he really has way too much health. From here, we pretty much skipped everything we need to and now have free reign of the second castle to defeat the bosses in any order we want, really. So I go down the list, starting with everyone's favorite nightmare fuel, Beelzebub. Next up is the fake CV3 trio. I fly back to the inverted Colosseum, wield my shield better than Goofy ever wish he could, and defeat the trio. I then make my way back to the inverted cavern so I can defeat the most frightening boss of them all, myself? One stopwatch and a shield pounding later, Doppelganger 40 is no more. And so is Doppelganger 10? See, a funny thing about this game is that for some reason killing Doppelganger 40 before defeating Doppelganger 10 back in the first castle causes the game to think he's already dead. So because of this, Doppelganger 10 never gets fought in this run, so yeah, isn't this game just silly? Anyway, after this I make my way back to Death so I can finally finish him off once and for all, with Death skip skip, skipping the skip that skips Death, causing Death to finally die. Nothing confusing about that. I then quickly dispatch the remaining bosses of the second castle in this order: Creature, Medusa, Akmadon, Darkwing Bat, before returning from the second castle and wait, I feel like I almost forgot something. Oh yeah, Richter. After saving Richter, it's time to clean up the first castle and exterminate all of the remaining bosses. We warp back to the abandoned mine so I don't have to skip Cerberus again, and then I defeat Granfloon, making very sure to not let the bodies hit the floor. Then warp to Auroch's quarters and beat the squatter himself. What is Auroch doing here anyways? Does he even have to pay rent? Anyways, I go back to the mines and put down Three-Headed Old Yeller. Then I go into my own dream world that is oddly sexual and has some Freudian undertones.
I'm coming, Mother!
No, Alucard! Don't come here!
Mother, no! Please, no!
That I'll do my best to repress for the rest of my life. That really is a nightmare, ugh. Then I visit Karasamon and proceed to bully the demon for his lunch money, defeat the tag team Minotaur and Werewolf, then wolf clip again into the caverns so I can defeat the hottest half-snake, half-dog, all-sexy lady, Scylla. Then defeat my least favorite bird-dog thing before finally reaching the intended first boss of the game, Slogger and Gaibon. And with that done, I only have one thing left to do, which is defeat the true final boss of the game, Dracula. I quickly make my way back to the final area and then perform the last glitch of the run to get to Dracula. So the Shaft fight is linked to the Dracula fight in the game's code. Essentially, Shaft never truly goes away even if you kill him and return later, but in order to finish the run and claim the bounty cash prize, I need to find a way to skip past Shaft and fight Dracula and only Dracula from here on out. Thankfully, the load trigger for Dracula's fight is stored off screen here to the left, and all I would need to do is touch the trigger from out of bounds. But in order to get out of bounds, I'm going to need to, first, get some ground speed. The fastest ground speed Alucard has access to is from a front slide. By dive kicking into the ground and releasing any inputs as you hit the ground, Alucard maintains his fast dive kick speed. Next, I have to alternate using heart refreshes, one in each hand, over and over and over again as I slide across the ground. I do this 17 times, and at the end of this sliding, the game displaces Alucard's position relative to the camera so much that it just warps him into the ground. I then fly out of bounds, touch the load zone, and start the fight with Dracula. And defeat him really quick using the Alucard shield, of course. And finishing with a time of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 52 seconds. Yeah, a little over 5 minutes faster than the bounty time, all while beating the game in its reverse intended order. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe because it really helps me out a lot. And if you want to support further, you can do so over on my Patreon, just like these lovely people like Mr. Cigar, LTCYX, Clint, Soma Jean, TJ Foster, Decremiest, Atomic Dracula, Suchioto, Kenneth, Chaosphania, Jokum Palm, and WJB.